Series 05 S05. Why Mizoram International Border is so unsecured? A comparison with Kashmir. Kashmir versus Mizoram. Why border security at Mizoram is undermined? A comparison of border security in terms of geography and topography of border villages of the state of Mizoram, India is discussed on 3D satellite images and by animations. In this discussion, we will see one by one. First, the similarities between Kashmir versus Mizoram by geography, topography and international relations. 2. The dissimilarities between Kashmir versus Mizoram by geography, topography and international relations. 3. The growing concerns of settlements increase at the border villages of Mizoram, particularly after 2021, when in the neighboring states of Myanmar, the junta government came into power and different factions of militant groups fighting against that government forced the local civilians to escape to and to take shelter in Indian border states. 4. To see the current status of settlement in these border Mizoram villages on satellite images. 5. How to install camera surveillance to watch the international borderline from highest point of each border Mizoram villages, which has no fence at international borderlines. 6. And last, is fencing the Mizoram border with barbed wire is sufficient security to protect the homeland as people living on either side of our ethnic clans with kinder tie? On September 19, 2023, one of the longest anti-militancy operations in the recent past in Kashmir Valley came to a close. For the security forces, what had begun as a coordinated search operation in Gadul, Kokenag, a week ago, ended with the death in combat of 2 senior army officers, a soldier and a deputy superintendent of Jammu and Kashmir Police, and 2 militants, after a week-long operation against militants. What stood out in the operation was the high number of casualties of the high-ranking security officials, whose death is priceless, as against of the militants neutralized, including the head of gang, Uzair Khan, who was a member of Lashkar-e-Toiba, LET, and it is Hart, whose head was priced rupees 10 lakhs. The nation had to bear huge cost to create and train such brave Indian soldiers to face any challenge, external or internal. Thus, their lives cannot be compared to the militants. While most gun battles between militants and the security forces in Kashmir end in less than 24 hours, this shootout turned out to be a daunting one, stretching out for a week. Militants in Kashmir are retreating into forest around the mountain range of Pir Panjal, as they rely less on local support. This throws up several challenges. Why Pir Panjal is now a staging ground for militant strikes. From Rajouri to Antanaag, several experts have pointed out that the Kokenag is a reminder of the challenges of militancy in South Kashmir. But what links the strike in Jammu and Kashmir with the encounter in Kokenag is a significant factor: terrain. It is important to see militants in Kashmir are retreating into forest around the mountain range as they rely less on local support. This throws up several challenges. A key aspect to the post-2019-2019 militancy in the region is the choice of terrain by militants: dense forest areas instead of villages or far-flung habitations, especially around Pir Panjal, stretching southeast like an arc from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir in the west right up to the Bees River in the northern Indian states of Himachal Pradesh. The 320-kilometer long Pir Panjal mountain range acts as a natural division between Kashmir Valley and Jammu region. All the motorable entry points to Kashmir Valley from south pass through this mountain range. Apart from a physical barrier dividing the two regions, the mountain range also sets them apart ethnicity-wise, culturally as well as socially. In Jammu, to the west of Pir Panjal, are the Rajouri and Poonch districts, which have been several high-impact militant strikes since 2021, as the range stretches eastwards. The South Kashmir districts of Kulgam and Anantnag sit along the Pir Panjal on the side of the valley. Thus, taking the advantage of dense forest and tough topography in the region, the militants in Kashmir take cover themselves, pose serious challenge to Indian security systems. This time also, in Anantnag-Korenak encounter, India had to launch a full-fledged war against few militants hiding with limited warfare, limited arms and ammunition and covering in the terrain. A proper knowledge of the terrain and installing surveillance points at high strategic points of the terrain gives army full control of any adverse situation. Now the question is, does Mizoram differ much than Kashmir in terms of geography and wild terrain, considering the security threats for both inside and outside? Similarity and dissimilarity of Kashmir Valley versus Mizoram Valley in view of border security and militancy. Kashmir Valley and Mizoram Valley are two distinct regions in India, each with its unique geographical and cultural and security challenges. When comparing the two in terms of border security and militancy, there are both similarities and dissimilarities to consider. Similarities: border proximity. Both Kashmir Valley and Mizoram Valley are located near international borders, making them susceptible to cross-border militancy and infiltration. Ethnic diversity. Both regions are ethnically diverse, which can sometimes lead to ethnic tensions and conflicts. And presence of armed groups. Both regions have experienced the presence of armed groups seeking various objectives, which poses a threat to security. In Kashmir, there has been launched an insurgency. While in Mizoram, Mizoram has dealt with ethnic insurgencies in the past. Dissimilarities. Geographical location. Kashmir Valley is located in the northernmost part of India, sharing borders with Pakistan and China. In contrast, Mizoram Valley is situated in the northeastern part of India, sharing borders with Myanmar and Bangladesh. The geopolitical dynamics and actors involved are quite different. Nature of conflict. The conflict in Kashmir has been primarily politically driven, with multiple actors involved, including separatist groups and state-sponsored militancy from across the border. In Mizoram, the conflict has historically been more ethnically based, with Mizoram insurgents seeking autonomy or independence. International dimensions. The Kashmir conflict has international dimensions, with Pakistan claiming the region and involvement from international organizations. Mizoram's conflict, on the other hand, has been largely contained with northeastern region of India. India government's approach. The India government's approach to addressing the conflict in these two regions has been different. In Kashmir, it has involved sufficient and significant military presence and attempts at political reconciliation. In Mizoram, there has been a greater emphasis on negotiations and peace talks with the insurgent group. Terrain and climate. The geography and climate of the two regions are also distinct. Kashmir Valley is mountainous and experiences harsh winter, which can impact military operations. Mizoram Valley has a more tropical climate with dense forest, presenting its own set of challenges. Border security. The border security challenges are different due to neighboring countries involved. In Kashmir, the line of control LOC with Pakistan administered Kashmir and the line of actual control LAC with China require a different security approach compared to Mizoram's border with Myanmar and Bangladesh. Elevation. Kashmir Valley. Kashmir Valley is situated at higher elevated with an average elevation of around 1585 meters, 5200 feet around, above sea level. Higher elevations can limit tree growth as the lower oxygen levels and colder temperatures can inhibit growth. The type of tree species found in each region can affect tree height. Kashmir Valley is known for its coniferous forest, which typically includes species like pine and deodar. Mizoram Valley in contrast has lower elevations ranging from around 200 meters like 656 feet to 2140 meters like 7021 feet above sea level. Lower elevations typically support taller trees due to more favorable growing conditions. Mizoram Valley on the other hand has a mix of broadleaf and evergreen forest with species like teak, bamboo and various tropical hardwood that tend to grow taller. In conclusion, while both Kashmir Valley and Mizoram Valley have experienced security challenges related to militancy and border security, the nature of conflicts, the geography, the actors involved and the government's approach to addressing these challenges are different. Nevertheless, both the regions have sharing international borders and have wild terrain and geography are conducive for cross-border terrorism and claiming separation from mainland. It is important to recognize these similarities and dissimilarities when formulating policies and strategies to ensure the security and stability of this region. Of many villages of the state of Mizoram, we will present the following 5 villages for present analysis under S05. Here HH means the number of households for a particular year in the following table. And all my previous discussions under S01 to S04 over Mizoram border villages are discussed with the links given below in the description box. Here 5 Mizoram villages which is under current discussion under S05 or series 5. As per census, Mizoram village Kengawang, which had number of households 0 in 2001, it increased to 226 in the year 2011. So a total increase of plus 26. Adjacent Laki, which had a household of 149 in 2001, increased to 182 in the year 2011. An increase of 33 households. Another adjacent Khopai, which had number of households of 85 in the year 2001, increased to 137 in 2011, so an increase of plus 52. Jhauling, another adjacent to Khopai, which had primarily 244 in 2001 number of households, increased to 302 as per census statistics of number of households in 2011. So a total increase of plus 58. And Sapi, which is connected to Jhauling, which had no household in 2001, was again no household in 2011. So an increase or decrease is. In this image, the red patch area is Myanmar. Actually, the right hand side of the image is India, and the red patch on the left hand side of India is Myanmar. The entire Myanmar area is covering this red patch area. Now, this is the position of the Myanmar with respect to India. This entire brown shaded area is actually Matopi, the Mizoram village, as adjacent to this area under Myanmar. Now, Mizoram villages which will be under current discussion, this will be adjacent to this area of Matopi in Myanmar, and this is our present study interest. This area is actually, this brown shaded area will be, we will talk about these 5 villages of Mizoram which are facing this brown shaded area of Myanmar. And to be precise, this area is actually Matupi belonging to Maintet belonging to Myanmar. In this picture, these blue lines are the Mizoram villages, border of the Mizoram villages, and below it the red marked arrows. In between the arrows, there are the villages which has been discussed in my earlier series of discussions. These Indian villages sharing international border with Myanmar has been discussed in my previous episodes described in this description box below. And the brown area, which is Matupi under Maindat under Chin of Myanmar. As I said in earlier, that this brown area is belonging to Myanmar, and we will be discussing these villages which are facing this brown area. Next, in this village, we are showing that A, B, C, D, E, these are 5 villages which will be under current discussion, and as I said that these are 5 villages which will be under. A is Kengawang, B is Lucky village, C is Khopai, and D is Jhauling, E is Shapi. These 5 villages of Mizoram will be discussed in the current series, and these 5 villages of Mizoram sharing international border with Myanmar, to be more specific, with this brown area whose name is Matupi under Maindat under Chin of Myanmar. So these 5 villages has been marked under these red arrows, and the next we will be showing what their position is in this image. The green areas indicate the state border of India, and the brown spot, actually this is not a spot, this is the area which is indicating that the part of Myanmar that is Matupi under Maindat under Chin of Myanmar. This area is brown area, and this the 5 villages of India, Mizoram state, are facing this brown area. So we will be discussing. So one by one, this is Kengawang. The area is indicating Kengawang. Then next, half of Kengawang has been discussed earlier. Half of Kengawang is facing this brown area, Matupi. So we will be discussing this half part of this area. Then next to it, Kengawang. Then next to it is Lucky village. Then next to Lucky is Khopai. Next to village, next to Lucky is Khopai village, and then next to Khopai is Jhauling. This is Jhauling village. This village is a very small part is attached to this international border. Rest is inside. This is Jhauling village, and then the last village which is adjacent to Jhauling is Shapi. This is Shapi. So these all 5 villages are adjacent to this brown area which is Matupi belonging to Myanmar. one by one we will be discussing the topography and the geography of these villages. When the satellite images will show that how tough the border is and what it's look like exactly how it looks like. The topography will be discussed through contours. We'll build up contours. We'll see what are the highest points of each village with through this contour analysis, and we'll see the how dense the forest is, and it is really impenetrable and very difficult to walk through. Even during daylight nothing can be seen through. So how the border security forces can traverse through this area. Now one thing is to remind the king of Wang out of these 5 villages above. One thing is to remind the king of Wang out of these 5 villages above. Area is geographically more popularly known as Chin Hills Special Division, CHSD, which is popularly known as Chin Hills Special Division. And second thing, Chowling, which is belonging to Shire districts in Mizoram, whose area, the village area is 32.097 square kilometer of area. We'll show it in the map. This village is also known as the land of blue mountains. It's rich with natural beauty, natural assets, and the serene beauty. So it's natural that to maintain and to protect these natural assets along the borderlines is also a very crucial task if the proper surveillance cannot be maintained. It is not only the national security for public life, but also a security to our national assets and to our treasures of nature. Though we do not have a recent census statistics of household HH post year 2000, but the recent satellite picture shows that current settlements much exceeded the natural trend as it should have been for above years. Safi village, which was without any human settlement until 2011, as per census, is no more lonely as it is evident from recent satellite picture. Other areas, as above, are also witnessing increase of household. The question is who are settling into this remote area with no or limited facilities, and particularly after 1st February 2021, when military coup in Myanmar deposed the earlier government and the Myanmar military came into power. We will examine the terrain feature of the above 5 border villages of the state of Mizoram, which are sharing international borderlines with Myanmar. The wild topography and geography of these villages, which are almost impenetrable in most part of the valley, even during daylight, and has made more dangerous than Kashmir Valley, which is mostly guarded by Indian security forces. In addition to this wild geography and topography of Mizoram, 16 km on either side of the borderlines of Mizoram is without fence, has free access for both sides of residents, which has resulted in cross-border militancy, illegal migration and settlements inside India, and cross-border smuggling of contraband items including drugs. We will show the geography and topography of these areas with height contours and determine the highest point in each village with 3.5 km radius centering the highest elevation point to show the camera management from there. Now the question is why you are taking 3.5 km radius from the highest point for each village? Because normally a military gate surveillance camera can look up to 3.5 kilometers, but in any case it is a symbolic. The radius can be drawn according to the capacity of the camera installed. It can be increased or decreased depending on the capacity of the camera. The hardest fact of Mizoram border security is that the entire 510 km of borderline of Mizoram with Myanmar is not yet fortified by fencing, by border security force or any other security agency of India. Thus it seems a thoroughfare between the two countries through this area. A free movement regime, FMR, exists between India and Myanmar, under which every member of the hill tribes who is either a citizen of India or of Myanmar and who is a resident of any area within 16 km on either side of Indo-Myanmar border (IMB) can cross the border with a border pass with 1 year validity and issued by competent authority and can stay up to 2 weeks per visit. Now the question is whether the fortification by fencing is alone can stop illegal migration, because we'll show in geography and topography of these areas are so wild and so tough that even during daylight nothing can be seen through and almost impenetrable, and patrolling by border security forces or any other security agencies is almost impossible. Only the hill tribes can traverse through this area. They know and they can go through these forests. So, to our estimates, only fencing and only border fencing with barbed wire or anything is not effective in these wild zones. Moreover, the forests are full of wild beasts and animals, so it is not possible for any human being to regularly patrol these high altitude areas, as well as the security involved into his safety is definitely questionable. Now this is Kengawang. Out of the 5 villages will be discussed under this series S05. This is the first village from south and we will move towards north. The area of this village is 69.537 square kilometer, and this part of the village, almost half part of the village, is facing this brown area which is known as Matupi of Myanmar. This area is known as Matupi under Mindat, under Chin of Myanmar. So the first village which is facing this brown border is Kengawang, and half of it is already covered in my previous discussions. Links are given below. There we had already discussed half part of it, and this remaining part which are facing this brown area will show the highest point in this zone. So first we will show the geography of these areas. This is wild terrain, steep valleys and deep gorges, and thick vegetations. Nothing can be seen through. Even during daylight, it's difficult to move around. So it's really difficult for any border security force to patrol through this area, because this is wild terrain. This is wild terrain full of wild beasts, and the thick forest, and nothing can be, and it is extremely dark area because it's covered with thick vegetation. We are showing that how thick it is. So this is our India's border with Myanmar in the state of Mizoram. So obviously patrolling to this area by any security force is really tough and almost impossible. But ethnic clans on either side can walk through these areas because they are very accustomed to this area. So for them it is easily tradable, and they can easily migrate to these areas. So this is our wild geography of this area. As you can see, this area is dark forest. Now we will go to discuss despite these thick vegetations and no sign of life in most of the parts of this village, but easily it can be seen that there is a walkthrough, a hill pass into this area. People go through these areas, and this area has almost, as per the satellite image of this time, that is 2024 satellite image, no sign of life can be seen into this area. But the statistics shows a different, but tells a different story. As per census 2011, there is sign of life. Number of households are, we have already given in the statistical table, we will show it. But as per the satellite images are concerned, this valley is almost without any household or population, and now as per statistics we had presented earlier in this discussion, the Kengawang had no household or zero population in 2001 and 26 household as per 2011 census. So, increase of 26. Now, in the present discussion and in the present satellite image, Kengawang, we can hardly see any settlement, but there is settlement. There is settlement at the base area. You can see few patches of settlement at the lower base of the hill. Here are a few patches of settlement, very localized. And now the question is, why the people are settling into these remote areas where almost no civic facilities, minimum requisites of the livelihood is not available. These areas, there is a high probability that peoples are migrating from other side, as this is the border village. So, we have shown you that where the settlements are, and we do not have any current statistics as per census. Census was last taken in 2011 and that was 26 household. Here the number of households may be same or increased. Other than this patch, there is no sign of settlement into this village. So, next we will go to see the contour lines in this valley, because contour will indicate. Now, you could see the contour lines, the white lines. These lines indicate, along this line the heights are iso height lines. Iso height lines means everywhere along the line is same height. At each individual line has its own height, and no two heights of different height contours can intersect, because if they intersect means that will be that is impossible. So, each contour line has its own height, and the gap is 200, like 200 here, 200 and then 400. So in this way we find that the contour lines along the border is the highest in the sense that we get it is 1400. These white lines is 1400, and if we see along the border that's 1200 and then 1400. So we have enough reason to believe that the lower end has 400, 200, 600, and as we climb up the valley and move towards the border, the height range is 1200 and 1400, like that. So we'll find where exactly we can get the highest point in this village. So for that, first we will draw a straight line, a line along the ridge lines. Since the ridge lines are the highest points in the valley, we draw a white line along the ridge lines in this Kandawang village, and the elevation profiles are given in below. In this profile table, it is given the highest points. Highest point is 1598. 1599, and then if you move along, this elevation profile, you can see that this area, what is the exact contour heights along this white lines. The red arrow is indicating the height information at that respective points, and from the elevation itself, the table given below, it shows the highest point. It shows the highest point of 1599. Though 1599, the point is not yet visible, but 1598 is shown by the red arrow. That is at the very starting point. So we keep a point marked at this area, giving its height name 1598 meter. HIGH. This is the highest point, 1598 meter. So now we'll draw. If we draw a radius, a circle of radius 3.5 kilometer at this end point, that means, keeping in mind that if we keep our camera at this highest point, military grade surveillance camera, if we keep at this point, then how much area it covers under that surveillance visibility. So we will see, we will draw, and we will show it in 3 dimension. Now in this image we can see that 3.5 kilometer radius drawn from the highest point of 1599 or 1598, whatever we can see up there. And this is the camera range. This is the entire circle indicates the camera range covering the border in half of the area covered is within its territory, within Kengawang village, and half of it is covered on the Myanmar side. So it can, if a camera installed at this highest point, it can give good observations on the borderlines, international borderlines, as well as half portions from the Kengawang village itself, the valley, and half portion it can give on Myanmar side. So it's a good observation point. Now, had there been a border fence in this Kengawang village, how it would have looked like? You see, this is the image as I showed you, is the highest point of 1599 and 1599 meter, and from there if a camera is installed towards the fence, and had there been a fence, it would look like this. Like here is the border, this is the Mizoram India side, and this is Myanmar side. This brown area is Matupi, and if the camera is installed and if had there been a fence, it would have looked like this. But the question is, in this hilly terrain and where there is almost no sign of human life except few patches, these borders, how it could secure our border security, as it is almost impenetrable by border security force, and only the hill tribes on either side, they are ethnic clans of kinder types, so they have relation, so they can easily break through this fence, and fencing alone cannot solve the problem. So a high rate surveillance camera at highest point, it is not only the single solution, that highest point is a point, but to keep valley protected, we need a constellation of camera arrangement at different highest points, so that it can keep watch on the valley itself as well as on our foreign side, on our neighboring countries side, so that any infiltration, any illegal migration, any illegal contraband dealings can be tackled, as well as the militancy can be tackled by army. So this is our discussion on Kengawang. Next we will go to next adjacent village. Next to Kengawang, which had been discussed earlier, now is the Lucky village. Now Lucky village which is adjacent to Kengawang. Now Lucky village area is 53.114 square kilometer. 53.114 square kilometer. Valley is equally wild and terraneous. You can see that the valley is equally terraneous, and Lucky village had 149 households in 2001 and 182 household in the year 2011 as per census. So an increase of 33 household. Now question is, where does settlement serve? If we go through the Lucky village from the satellite image, it is clear that most of the part, as in Kengawang, the most of the part had no sign of settlement, except in the Kengawang we had seen that in the valley, the foothills of the valley, the settlement was there. Here also we show that settlements are in patch this area, and obviously, as I said, that 182 households, number of households in 2011, but here one settlement is here, and you can see that along the hill track there are also sign of settlements. So it has definitely increased from that point. 2011 down to 2024 is the settlements, the satellite images of 2024. So it definitely increased as the satellite image is showing, and as there is no exact statistics as of now, but it's increasing and is very close to international border, the red line and the brown side of Myanmar. Now we'll see what is this is the geography. Geography is showing that the area is thick forest, almost without any even during daylight nothing can be seen through, so it's almost impenetrable, dark forest and full of wild beasts. So definitely it is not possible for any security force to move through these areas and to keep regular watch at the border side. So the only solution is to keep camera management, and the camera should be installed at the highest point to see the maximum coverage. Let's see where the highest point is. Now from contour analysis we can see that Lucky village valley has the highest contour of 1400 meter, and other sites other contours are 1200, 100 below than that. So 1400 is the highest contour lines we are getting into Lucky valley. Now we'll see what exactly the highest point in this valley. So for that we'll again go to draw a line along the ridge lines. It would be somewhere here because this is the highest point. These contour lines indicate 1400. So the peak of it, as it is seen, we are drawing a white line and like to see what exactly the elevation profile says. Now we are saying the elevation profile at the highest, it is actually from lower, then it is going to the highest point. Highest point is 1481, and 1481 or 1480, more or less this is the point where it is, we are getting 1481, and visibly it is showing 1480 meters. So we put a star mark out here. First we fix it up at 1480, yes, and this point is located at to this point. Yes, 1480. Now this is 1480 meter high. So we get to the highest point, and if we move on either side, is going lower. If we move on either side, the red arrow is showing we are moving towards lower. So the highest point is 1480, right. Now we will draw a 3.5 meter radius circle, and circle with radius 3.5 meter, 5 kilometers, sorry, 3.5 kilometer, to see how much camera surveillance can work into this area. Now this is Lucky village, the Lucky Valley, with 3.5 kilometer radius of surveillance at from the highest point. So it covers almost 3/4 of the valley itself, Lucky, on Indian side, and 1/4 on our neighboring side, on the Myanmar side. So it has a good coverage of the valley itself, as well as part of the borderlines. And to keep better surveillance, we need a constellation of camera at next succeeding highest points, so that it covers the entire borderlines. Now this is Lucky village in 3 dimensions. We are showing that had there been a border at this Lucky village with along the international borderlines, it would have looked like this, and 3/4 of the area was inside the fence, and 1/4 of our neighboring country area of surveillance was outside this fence. This is outside. So it would have looked like this, and this camera could see beyond this fence, and Lucky village is on right hand side of the image, and beyond the fence is Myanmar, Matupi, Myanmar, and as you can see that the radius is 3.5 kilometer. The surveillance was enough to keep part of the borderlines. Next to Lucky village is HAWKEYE. HAWKEYE is another sharing border with Matupi, Mindat, under Chin. Now HAWKEYE village has a total area of 24.037 square kilometer area, and it is relatively a smaller village. the geography is all the same, even wilder than as you are going northwise from south. Like Kengawang was a wild village, Lucky was wilder than Kengawang, and this Khopai, as it is as it is north of Lucky village, Khopai is also wilder and is thick forest, dense forest, and there is a passerby, is a hill track, and it has, similar to other villages, it has patches of human settlement along the hill track, like here as a patch of human settlement, and that is along hill track, and again after few steps down the line, there is another settlement. Now, as per statistics, Khopai had 85 households in the year of 2001, and it increased to 137 in the year of 2011. So, a total increase of 52 over these 10 years. But the present statistics showing that much higher number of household here, because there are households have also spread it along the track or even down the hill track. There had been increase of population and settlement, but still these are very localized and equally denser area. Now, like before, we will try to see the contours of this area and the highest point. So, we will not show the method of calculations, but the method of calculation is same as like Kengawang or Lucky village, but we will show the ultimate results only. Here you can see that these are villages, these are the height contours. In this village, these are the white lines are the contours of different values. Now, sorry, it is 800. Here it is 800, and everywhere we can see that ranges are. This is 400. This is 800. So normal highest point is contour is 800. And if we see, if we draw the elevation profile, that will determine the highest point. So we will next go to see the highest point in this village. The highest point in Khopai village, Mizoram, is 863 meters, and we have drawn a 3.5 kilometer radius circle around this highest point, and we see that it covers almost 3/4 area, or slightly more than half area, 50% area is covered of the own village, that is Khopai village, and remaining 30% or so is covered of the neighboring country and covering the border of that fort. The border lines in between is covered under this. So, HAWKEYE has um, uh, if a camera is installed at the highest points, it can cover most of the village, most part of the village, as well as a part of the foreign neighboring village. In 3D we show how the HAWKEYE village is, it looks like had there been a fence at the border. Now this is, had there been a fence at the border of the HAWKEYE village, it would have looked like this. But the question is there that does the fence itself is enough to stop migration of tribal people or from neighboring countries or from or smuggling or trade of illegal contrabands. Nothing can stop by this fencing over here, because this area is so dark jungled and thickly vegetated. But however, if a camera is installed at this area, it would have looked like this. The HAWKEYE village, Mizoram, this 3.5 kilometer radius of surveillance by this camera, and it could have, it could be controlled by a constellation of camera management. Not a single camera can manage the entire valley. The highest point of HAWKEYE village is 863 meters high. Here it is 863 meters high. The camera is installed at that point, and that is showing the actual situation, what could have been had there been a fence, had there been the borderline had been fortified by fencing. This HAWKEYE village is next to, sorry, the Jowling village is next to HAWKEYE village. The HAWKEYE is here, as we have discussed. The HAWKEYE is here, and from HAWKEYE, this HAWKEYE is here. HAWKEYE has been just discussed, and next, if we move northwise, the next adjacent village is Jowling. Jowling is 32.097 square kilometer, 32.097 square kilometer Jowling. But this village is a bit peculiar. Peculiar in the sense that it's a very longitudinal, very narrow part of it is adjacent to the international border, and rest is lying inside. So a single camera management cannot cover the entire area, but that we'll see it next. But before that, let us see the geography of this area. Mind it that HAWKEYE has, Jowling has 244 household as per 2001 and 302 household as per 2011. So increase of 58 household over these 10 years, and the recent statistics must be much higher. And then Jowling, as per once again I am telling you that the number of household as per 2001 census was 244, and number of household as per 2011 census was 302. But the present statistics is showing that the settlement is lying in a very narrow strip of area. This is the area. Maybe it is higher, but the exact number of household is difficult to determine from here. Definitely it's a little bit more crowded than other villages. In the entire strip of land, the single patch of settlement is lying here, and definitely some amount of population also seen in the nearby, but in any case most of the population, most of the households are lying very close and into this patch of valley, okay. But rest of the areas are equally dark forest, and Jhaoling is the only place where we remind you, we had already mentioned it before, Jhaoling is the only place, not the only place, but where you can see it hosts endangered species like hulak givens and clouded leopard. And it's a land of blue mountains, which is also popular for Dampa Tiger Reserve, Fongupai Merlin National Park, and Langtang Wildlife Sanctuary. So, Jhaoling is the area which hosts number of national and natural treasures. So, and lying very close to the border. So, losing the national treasures, and if it is somehow lost, that will be a great national loss. So, to maintain it, we need very intensive surveillance at this area, but this area is equally geographically very close to the international border, and the area is also of high mountainous and deep gorges. So, to maintain regular patrol by any force is difficult. In any case, we will see the height profile of this area. This Jhaoling area, look, it is 800, these contour lines, as it suggests, that 600, 800, but 1000 up here. It at highest point near the previous village, then in this area it is lying low, but anyway 1200. So, we will see the highest point from as we had determined it earlier for other villages. We will see what is the highest point. Now, Jhaoling has highest point is 1200, and it is lying, it is covering more than 50% or of the village itself, but it does not cover the international border. It covers its own area, but it does not cover the international border. So, actually number of constellation of other camera managements covering the international border and its own borders will secure the valley. This Jhaoling area is from here as it is shown that the highest point is 1200 meters, and that is far away from international borders. So, a camera cannot cover, can cover the 3.5 kilometer radius within its own range, but it cannot cover the international border. International border is far away from this radius. So, a constellation of camera can solve the problem to cover the entire valley. Next to Jhaoling is Shapi. Next to Jhaoling is Shapi. The very adjacent to Jhaoling is Shapi. Shapi is 31.971 square kilometer of area, and is a long international border line with Myanmar. The valley is equally wild, dark topography and dark vegetation, thick vegetation and wild terrainous, and most of the part is without any habitation. The striking feature of SAPI is that SAPI had no population during 2001 because there was zero household, and during 2011, in the year 2011, the census shows it had zero household. That means there had been no increase or decrease of household during this last 10 years, 2001 to 2011, and down the line, presently also it shows no sign of habitation. So this area is totally no sign of life or human settlement, without any human settlement, and this area is really wild, and there is one river which is flowing through this wild terrain, deep gorges, and no sign of human settlement. But this area is showing sign of settlement. This area is showing some sign of settlement. So the question is, where there up to 2011 there had been no sign of habitation, no sign of any household, but in the present these satellite images of 2024 and this present image is showing some sign of settlement. Who are these people are settling into these remote areas, so wild, so without any public facilities? So how they are settling up here, why they are settling, and whether they are the people belonging to Indian side or to neighboring side from Myanmar side. These people are settling up here, and these villages are now showing some sign of habitation. This is wild terrain, dense forest, but more interesting thing is that these areas are without any border fence, without any guard at the border lines. So settlement of in these areas are really interesting subject, because who are these people are settling up here, and more important thing is that how the security of this area is ensured by the government, because unlike Kashmir, there is no presence of any security force in these lines, and the border is totally open. And this is thick forest with wild beasts, and most of the areas are impenetrable. Next we will see, in this SAPI the highest point is 1874. SAPI is 31.971 square kilometer of area, and the highest point of SAPI village of Mizoram is 1874 meter high, and the yellow circle is 3.5 kilometer radius. It's covering most of the part of the international border, as well as the SAPI village, that is very small village in its width, so it's totally covered under the same camera. So the entire SAPI village is covered, as well as part of our neighboring villages also covered. Neighboring villages means in the foreign neighboring villages of Myanmar is also covered, and the borderline is totally captured into this camera. So this camera management is good for this particular village. So I have tried to establish the border villages of Mizoram, how they look like, what is the geography and what is the topography, and how it is difficult for Indian security forces to cover up these areas and to give regular patrol to keep watch onto these areas, and what are the alternatives to them, and the camera management to our estimates, and because fencing alone cannot solve the problem here. It is wild zone. Camera management is the only possible route to keep watch onto these areas. So we'll continue to explore the other border villages of Mizoram, then Manipur, and then other areas of Indian border states. So please like it, please subscribe my channel, and give me your comments, valuable comments, so that I can get encouraged to do the next episodes and do research onto it. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Please subscribe. Don't forget to give a like to my channel. Thank you.